We were stomping it down.
At the tone, the time will be 6 p.m. Daylight savings time. Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's time for another exciting CROA meeting. We're your board. Hello. Welcome. It's a workshop. Oh, it's a meeting. We're getting together, but we actually do have a meeting in the workshop. So it's a combo. Today's actually a combo. It's called a meeting to order. Was this workshop and meeting properly noticed?
It was.
All right. Thank you so much. Do I have a motion to adopt our incredible agenda? Doesn't go to Z, so that's a good thing.
Make the motion.
Charles made the motion. Second from Andrew. Discussion. I'd like to discuss a couple of things. Anybody else? I would like to add a pre-A to the discussion items. Just since it's discussion, it's a presidential point of order plea that I'd like to make. That in that position.
I guess I'd also like to remove H because I don't know if we're as prepared for that as we should be. And
Are we not prepared for that? Okay, so remove H. Well, good with that? Okay. Add a pre-A for me. Anybody got an objection?
Oh.
Okay, cool. Do I have a all those in favor of adopting the agenda? Aye. Opposed? I want to make a point. Our next item is an action item portion of the meeting. This is an actual meeting where we're going to vote because these are time-sensitive matters that we need to today. I actually have things I have to sign if we approve it. So, first one is the motion to sunset. What a nice word. Great euphemism. Prince and Sons as a landscaping vendor for the Celebration Residential Owners Association. Do I have a motion? All right, Celia, second. Charles. Discussion?
Can we get a refund on something that they claim they did? What thing? Yes, I can have that conversation. We did that with Yellowstone. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
We just clarify for the audience what Prince and Sons covers from a landscaping perspective.
There's the CCFC grass fields and artificial turf. North Village Commons. The Founders, Lakeside, Heritage Hall, East Village, Athletic Fields, and Aquila.
So large.
The large,
big stuff.
and what?
Long Meadow.
Long Meadow and the amphitheater.
You mind just taking us through a quick discussion, just to recap of why we're doing this, just for posterity?
Prince and Sons started out doing well. Their service has declined. We did the walks with all the landscaping companies. Exquisite was on it. They had bids prepared. They had alternatives for us ready to go. They know their parks well. Prince and Sons came unprepared. When we asked for their thoughts and suggestions on how we could improve certain areas, they didn't really have any to provide. We were providing all the direction. And I have been chasing them for bids for the better part of a month and a half and still have none to address the parks. And for me, the straw that broke the camel's back was the complete butchering of the Asiatic jasmine at Long Meadow with no plan to replace it and no notice to us.
Regarding sunset, what's the time? 30 days, 60 days?
You technically have a 7-day out clause in your contract. I forgot we added that last year. But I would request a 60 or 90 day out because that gives us time to go to bid, get it on the board agenda and approved.
That's what I was going to ask is who comes in there
So
instead.
it's-
So we have to find a new vendor.
We've talked to Exquisite. They will step up and fill in the meantime. If Prince and Son says we don't want to wait 30, 60, 90 days, we're just
But we
not.
will be looking for a new.
We will be looking for, we will issue RFP.
What's the value of this contract around with Prince and Sons? If you know, if you don't know, it's okay.
I don't know it. off
That's
the top
fine.
of my
Okay.
head.
Anything else? All those in favor of sunsetting Prince and Sons? Writing on the sunset. Aye. Any nays? Nays, it's a done deal, folks. Do I have a motion to approve the audit for 2022?
I'll motion to approve the audit and both B and C. I'll make a motion for both B and C.
Oh, okay.
I'll second.
Discussion? Anything we need to know?
Nothing remarkable.
All right, nothing remarkable. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Be signing. Now on to the, I'll sign this in a minute, Mike. You need to write this minute?
No, you're good.
All right, as long as I have a minute. On to discussion items. My presidential e-plea,
What is it called?
my presidential e-plea,
E,
e-plea. You'll know why in a minute.
well, I'm taking notes. I want to make sure.
I know. I'm sorry, that's right. You're the note taker. E-plea. Okay, here's it. We became an official board just beginning of this month, just a little while ago, a little over a week. In a little over a week, I have counted over 200, almost 250 emails. Lauren also did a count, about 250 emails between all of us. Holy cow. Now, I have a question. We all want to meet and be transparent with our constituents, right? These are like little e-meetings. I mean, we actually you guys are holding meetings, and I try not, I didn't even want to participate except to answer like, yes, 5 o'clock is better or something like that. Is there a chance that unless it's an emergency, we could just not ask for all this stuff except at a workshop or a meeting? Anybody have any thoughts on that? Because I'm inundated with email, and I don't know about you guys, but it's more than I can read and work and live.
Yeah, I'll go first as far as a new board member trying to get up to speed. I would want to reach out to Lauren and CC the whole board so it's going to be beneficial to everyone that they see it.
Oh, I want
But
everybody to
there's
see
definitely
stuff.
knowledge there.
But I guess what I'm saying is if it's not urgent, can it wait till a workshop to ask Lauren or us or whomever for enlightenment? Again, there are some things that absolutely, adding items for agendas, the sending out of agendas, but it's just there are a lot of conversations about why are we doing this and why can't we do that? And I need all of these things. And I knew we're a new board and there's a lot of eagerness to do stuff. But I would imagine that they're getting overwhelmed with all of the particular requests. You know, and you and all of us new people, there's stuff we want to know. But I'm wondering if in the future, after the excitement's worn off, we could just leave that for a meeting or a workshop because we meet every 2 weeks. Sir, ma'am.
No, I have a question because I was wondering what like the protocol is, like if we have like a question, like for instance, like with North Village Playground, we got an email that it was going to be, shut down. And then residents ask how long, so is that a question to, like you would find appropriate to email Grand Banners or?
And again, I don't want this to sound like it's me making a decision. Unless it's an emergency, it makes sense to bring that. And what I would like to see, again, if my perfect world, I would like to see us go back to workshops and even meetings where we had a section of time set aside for directors' comments and questions. Where we had a section of the meeting where it was like, okay, Lauren, over the past few weeks, I heard from a resident about this. We had this, what's going on with this? We don't have it on the agenda, but we'd like to know about that.
Or comments on our meeting packet.
Yeah, but we didn't have it on our workshop.
Right.
So I just
Well,
want to
that
make,
would take like a month to get that answer. But what I'm saying is like, I could say, because before I was on the board, I would email those questions directly to Grand Manners, but like could say, tell the resident to ask Grand Manners. But I just feel like I have the position and the ability to maybe get that answer quicker for them. But if you're saying that's not a
I'm just saying, maybe there's a better way, and I don't know what it is. I'm just bringing this up because I did count. I was shocked that I've never seen this many emails ever on my previous boards.
I have a hard time trying to set a protocol to limit communication.
No, I don't want to limit. I'm just trying to figure out if there's a better way to do it.
There's 250 emails in the last 10 days. There's only 3 emails. There's 7 of us. And that's part of the issue, that if you break it down, it's only 3 emails a person. But everybody didn't do that. So some people have more. It is a lot of
Some people are
emails.
taking more than their fair share.
I'm not disagreeing that the concern is valid, but I don't know that if the necessity.
I don't know what the answer is. And again, I brought it up because I don't know what the answer
I
is.
think that's what B is on the agenda. Did you add that? Or
That's
no,
what
that
we
was-
were gonna discuss
So-
at our workshop.
I thought that was more about responding.
Responding to residents.
That's responding
Oh,
to
okay.
residents.
Okay, like,
Okay, so-
That's a different thing. Yeah, that's who's going to respond to residents. To Katie's point, though, that kind of, it goes, it's in play.
so my thought on this, and again, feel free to disagree, object, whatnot. You guys are here for 8 hours, plus Lauren, you're here 24 hours in reality. So every time you take time out of your day to answer an email, Jeffrey, it's another 10, 15 minutes, not addressing covenants, not addressing ERC, not addressing the things in our action plan. So unless it's really mission critical, and I know you fire up a lot of emails just about like random stuff that we say,
Okay, yeah, see there.
Finish
yeah,
when you became a board member last year,
Yep.
you were sending out emails
Sure.
after emails after
Absolutely.
emails. So
absolutely.
Andrew and Katie.
It's exuberance getting started. Yeah.
Don and Eric have been on boards before, so they're new and they're feeling their way, but Charles,
Well, but we didn't have,
You-
Cindy didn't have that conversation with me, whereas with this board, we can start this off on the right foot, whereas in the
But
beginning,
they're
we
not-
should have been cognizant of management time, in my opinion. That's
Well,
again, my
the
own.
reason I bring it up is because there's so much that I lose track. I'm probably the oldest person here. I lose track literally of what is important and what is not. I want to respond to those things that are critical moving forward. But I also don't want us ever to be accused of having meetings outside of the public sphere.
Could we do like a sunshine law modified? Because I mean, CDD, they don't, there's no discussion.
None, zero.
I mean.
Anyway, go ahead, Celia.
You even advocated for cutting.
No,
back meals,
No.
too.
They're not
No,
supposed
I'm
to.
saying, we brought this up I tried
Yeah.
bringing it up at our organizational meeting about email protocol with Lauren. How do we do it as a board? And you said, I don't have a problem with anybody.
I don't. I just was surprised.
Well,
That was my
we
naivete.
ran with
I
it.
had no idea it would be that much.
Well, we ran with it.
But again, part of it, part of it is newness and a high degree of exuberance, which is a great thing.
Because I was saying to myself,
I'm less exuberant than you two.
maybe this is how Don and Eric did it as a board.
Eric,
when they were on the
We
board.
didn't have a lot of emails.
We did not, no. And I think to me, I think we need to look at communications in 2 different buckets. To Katie's point, there's immediate resident questions and resident need, which I know is on the agenda tonight, similarly to who responds to what, which I think is important. That's a separate discussion than items that we might need to be discussing that are, longer tail or not, of an emergent nature of what's going on at the playground or why is an amenity closed or something like that. So I do see those as 2 different categories. It was surprising to me, mainly because it just was. Now times have changed, but I will also say that it is just difficult for me to track some of the pieces as they're coming across very quickly, because I think too, right now in the beginning stages, which is why we're at this workshop now, we're going to plan what we feel is most important. So maybe some of this meeting will help calm it down moving forward as well.
Good point.
If you want to maybe limit it, then do we keep it to what discussion items are on workshops? And
I guess what I'm not asking to codify anything. It was more of a, let's self triage. Like look at it and go, is this something that I can bring up at the meeting and just make a note and I'll bring it to the meeting when we have our board workshop? Or is this something that I really need an answer from Lauren now? If it's really an answer, you need a Jeffrey or Lauren answer immediately, ask the question. If you believe it's critical, and we're all smart, if you believe it's critical, ask the question. But look at it and go, could I wait on this until the meeting? The other thing that's nice about asking those kinds of things in meetings and talking about them in meetings is this. See all your eyeballs.
There's benefit though to be able to ask Lauren a question because we can get an answer so that we can move on at the meeting and take action. Otherwise, we ask at the meeting and then we're waiting a minimum of 2 weeks to be able to action on that.
And again, it depends on the critical nature of the question. It's just every question that comes to mind, if we start asking them in emails, my eyes are gonna glaze over and I'm gonna miss something important. I just know I will.
And I know when I came on, it was like, can you give me a list of like the things in your mind that you want to look at, like the lot piece stuff, so maybe that's something for new directors, if there's an inventory of things that maybe you want Lauren to grab or assemble, maybe we just shoot that out once a week, something along those lines. I don't know.
Again, I'm not saying I have the answer.
I know.
Answer as good as any.
Out there.
I'm listening for answers.
I have a thought, but
Yes,
I
ma'am.
mean, I don't know if it's gonna be helpful or not. I agree what you're saying, like some emails like that are maybe like Lauren or Jeffrey sent out, it's like a much more urgent email and they require a response when you're asking a question and you don't want it to get lost with everyone else's, questions. Like maybe you could highlight those as urgent matters when you send it out. And that way, when you're going through your email list, you can see.
As long as somebody says that.
Yeah, it should.
I'm not gonna know. Yeah,
Right? There would be like
It would show as like a red flag.
that'd be great.
You get a red.
That would be great. That would be really helpful. And again, it was very personal to me and I think Charles was also overwhelmed by them. And I think Eric expressed he was a little surprised. That's all it is. It's not criticism because I thought, you guys asked some great important questions, but some of them I kind of looked at and went, we could do that in a workshop.
yeah, that's good feedback.
Okay, that's all.
And I
I'm done.
think Charles learned after last year.
Yeah,
No,
right. And I'm just bringing it up because we're early on. It's early days. So thank you. I'm done with that. Now on to A, the strategic plan. Whose item is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need a strategic plan.
Okay, well, tell us what are you
Well,
proposing?
I think in the last meeting, we sort of started talking about the timing and when we wanted this, and I think the sooner the better, so that we can, to Eric's point, we can determine where we want to play in, and that helps to determine where you want to spend your time.
Okay.
I think we need to do that sooner so that we're not just reacting to everything and putting out fires. We need to identify what are we going to do that this year, the next 3 years, 5 years even. Maybe it's baby steps. We haven't had a strategic plan in years, so.
We haven't had a strategic planning
No,
meeting
sir.
in years?
No, sir,
Seriously?
not to my knowledge.
Since I've been.
Wow.
So
We had them every year.
I won't say that there's a correlation between those boards and some ineffectiveness, but I will say that we need to start there. And it doesn't have to be.
And I think what we did usually was it's like a half a day on a Saturday morning.
And we discussed that.
We
We did
discussed
discuss that
that.
in our organization meeting
Yeah.
to do that.
Said 8 hours, let's cut it down to 4 hours.
4 hours. So are we all in agreement that we need a strategic planning meeting?
Yeah, I thought that was this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
Well, no, that needs to
Not
be
this.
separate.
What, who, where?
this is not the strategic.
No, this is not this. No. No.
But it needs to be scheduled soon, like the
Soon.
next workshop ideally, because we're gonna get into
Well,
budget.
but again, the workshop, it's gotta be separate
Gotta
from a
be-
workshop.
All by itself, Charles.
Well, that's fine, but I just don't want us to get to, we talked about, we tried to do this last year. We tried, and then we ran up to budget season. And once we run up to budget.
So that's what I'm saying. Let's do it next month.
Yeah.
Let's pick us, but I think the thing to do is to do it like a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
That way people they're not working. They don't have to take a day off.
Yeah.
Because that hurts working people.
It doesn't, I think as we take this back and start thinking about it, I think Mike has always said, high performing teams, quality over quantity. I think those are the things we need to think about.
And can brand managers provide like a facilitator for something like that? Do they have somebody who helps with strategic planning?
Not in,
Stacy tried last year with the sticky notes, but we
Yeah.
didn't.
That wasn't,
could we
that
find
was,
somebody
that was
like-
more master plan, strategic plan.
It doesn't have to be anything, like, we just need to identify the pillars that we want to plan, what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. And then that informs the budget, that informs the next steps, that tells us kind of.
So we're scheduling the woman from CAI for the 10th, right in front of your workshop for like a 60-minute.
Oh, could we do it in that short a window?
But she was gonna do board functionality. She's gonna be here for a couple of days.
I think we're-
Try to-
Honestly, I think in terms of functionality, that we're on a very similar page. I think that if she could facilitate a 60 or 90-minute strategic planning
That would
meeting,
be better.
that would be better use of her time
in our time.
on our time. I just don't see this board as being the Bickersons. I haven't seen anything.
Not which one.
It's still early, Don.
Oh, thanks for your optimism.
No worries.
That would be like at 4:30 on
Okay.
the 10th of
Work.
April.
And that would be 90 minutes, or would this be a no end time?
No, it has to end for the workshop.
And we're not going to solve the world.
No, but we have 90
It's
minutes.
not,
we should be able to-
let's hammer through, let's get what we can out of the way.
So that's gonna be on the 10th and 4th.
4:10 at
I'll send
4:30.
out a count.
All righty. B, email response protocol. This is basically about who's going to respond to residents' emails, correct? From the board.
Correct.
And.
Yeah, and so I think that was a question. I know historically it had been a secretary that had responded to those. I don't know, and bluntly, that's why I haven't responded to some of the messages that have gone on, because I was waiting for this meeting to understand. There's parts of this where I feel a lot of these are tactfully should be steered towards management, where we say, yes, we're in receipt of your, message, or we will, take your comments under advisement, or we'll bring them up at an upcoming meeting with the board, somehow to politely acknowledge that, the resident or the entity has reached out to us. But obviously whoever is responding, whether we want it to be the secretary or whomever, I don't feel that it should be a decision process or any sort of piece coming from the board in those natures, but I'm open
You're talking about
for
boilerplate,
discussion on
Ken.
this. Yeah,
So-
somewhat boilerplate. I also don't know the types of messages that we've been receiving recently, other than the ones that have just come in the past couple of weeks.
So the way I did it the past couple of years as secretary, if someone emailed, if a resident emailed the CROA board and CC'd Lauren or town at the town hall,
Mhm.
if we went to the CROA board, I responded with, thank you very much for reaching out. We'll forward this to management. And I would copy Lauren or line copy her, so management would know, and she would delegate who would respond to the resident. And usually her team would copy me, showing that they responded.
Cool.
If it went to the town hall and copied the board, then I waited for Lauren to answer it, and she would copy the board or CC me and let me know that she answered. It was depending on who it went to. The
Right.
resident sent it to the board, I would answer, sent it to town hall, she would answer, so that we were all on the same page. And I didn't always copy the board, because a lot of times the board didn't want to be copied. So at the time, that was the protocol. And like Eric's saying, it was just a generic email. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for sharing your concerns, depending on how the email was.
Charles, can I say something? Okay. What if we did an auto reply, just to I realize it's not personalized and whatnot. I know, but if we're just trying to acknowledge that we've received the
If
email,
we have a human though willing to respond.
but that's the thing. At Eric's point, we're volunteers and the volume. I mean, if we could
Again, I would not volunteer to do it.
I think-
I'm trying to think of just efficiency.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
It's more efficient to do an auto.
You've lost
But
a
if
human.
we have an
I
actual
agree.
human being who
I
will
agree.
volunteer to
I
do
know.
it,
I know.
then I think, if we didn't, if everybody said, I don't want to do it,
No, I agree.
then we create an auto reply.
I did it.
Yeah.
I don't mind doing it, but I thought it was just going to be the job of Eric now as the secretary.
Yeah, I
mean,
had
I
assumed
have pages-
that as well. And I think too, the other piece of this is, Charles, I'm with you. I'm all for an automation. However, in these cases, I do think that it does serve as a little bit of triage, because the majority of the messages that we receive likely will be, thank you. We see this, or we can bring this up at the next meeting, but we may get a notice from a resident that, we do want to bring to the attention of the board for whatever reason, and make sure that, hey, we try to address it promptly. I'll sign up for it. I'm okay with the volume and those sort of pieces. I think the other question that I would have with this is that, just from a technical point of view, if the board is just emailed as the board email, I'm assuming management gets that email as well, correct?
Not if they're
No,
not
those are
copied.
just-
If it
Just
just
us.
Really?
comes to the board, it just
We,
comes. to
we
the
put
board.
an end to that practice. I know that was the practice when a couple.
So we
of
can
executive
talk about them behind their backs.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's fine. So so that's just good to know, so that I understand that we can't make an assumption that management obviously is aware. So if folks are comfortable with a human replying and having it continue to be the role of the secretary, I'm fine with signing up for that if everyone's comfortable. Well, I guess I'll end it there. Is everyone comfortable with that?
Is everyone comfortable?
I guess.
You got 100% ascension.
Just one comment would be, if Lauren is included on the email, I don't think the board needs to take any action.
No,
If Lauren is not, then that's when.
Well,
you do.
depends on who-
that's what Celia was saying.
It
She said,
depends on the nature of the question,
Right.
because sometimes they'll send it to the board and I'm copied on it. And it's really something the board should answer because it's really more directed to you. Sometimes it's
Sure.
a generic question addressed to the board, but it's easy, it's more operational, so it's easier for me to answer.
and Eric has a lot of experience on the board, so he's gonna know what should go where. So I trust Eric to handle it. I think. we
And I
all
think
do.
and I think the question that I would have is, when we do have those situations, Lauren, that needs to come to management, would you prefer that to then be directed to you, or would that be someone else at town hall, or the town hall generic email?
If you send it to me, then I will either answer it or I'll farm it out to one of the managers.
Right,
So
so
noted.
if somebody sent an email to just the board and didn't copy Lauren, town hall, or anybody, I would send the response and I would blind copy Lauren so she would know what's going on. So if there was an issue, she would know it. That's
Yep,
how I
understood.
did it.
Moving on to C, moving forward with the Christmas with the Celts in kilts. I meant that last part of it.
This is discussion for what?
We need to know if the board well, until we found out this afternoon that they are willing to look at purchasing workers' comp insurance if we reimburse for it. So obviously our contract requires that all vendors that we employ on your behalf have workers' comp. They originally said they would not purchase workers' comp insurance because it's too expensive. We obviously are not going to add them to ours, and having them sign a liability waiver is something you can do, but was not the best option for your insurance agent and general counsel. So hopefully they will be willing to purchase workers' comp, and we can reimburse them for it. But it was one of those things where, pending that answer, we needed board to say, yes, keep going down this road with them, or no, find new entertainment.
So I guess along those lines, and this might be a little direct, but if you don't have workers' comp, you don't do an event in celebration. We shouldn't have to structure a contract where we're paying them to have something we should do. So, I don't want to set that precedence where we cover the Celts and then we cover everyone else the next.
We're not
week,
covering them, no.
Something else. So
My
it's something-
recommendation was that they get it and we're just paying them for it
Paying them.
separately. The money is not connected from us and the insurance whatsoever.
As long
It's just
as
gonna
long as the
increase-
contract's increased, so
Yeah.
that if it's just an accounting function, that's fine. We should not be taking any less net.
No, we are,
from the event.
no, we are not.
Okay.
And then the cancellation, I was just wondering.
Yeah, that contract has not gone to the attorney yet for review.
Okay.
It's just, I didn't want to keep marching down this road with
Okay.
them until we had some direction from the board, but luckily.
Yeah. Yeah, but we want to make sure that if
It
it
needs to be
rains,
realized. So you just want us all to say
So
yes.
basically,
Like to
moving
see this.
forward, is everyone okay to continue to move forward and see where it goes?
Yes.
Have direction. Reserve
Wait,
study vendor.
need make motion?
No, because these are discussion items.
Right.
These aren't action items. The CROA reserve study vendor. This is yours?
This will be on your board agenda in 2 weeks
Mhm.
to approve a new vendor. We have 3 bids coming back because it's a large sum of money. It's in the $20,000 range. Reserve Advisors is a company that you've used for years. They have historic knowledge of the HOA. They also are willing to do a draft reserve study for Island Village Phase 2, which we didn't have for Phase 1. So when it came time to start budgeting for the townhome community and for the
We didn't have the
amenity
numbers.
center, we didn't have any valid numbers to use. We used based on the existing townhomes that we have, but we didn't have something from it backed up by an expert.
And we've got the bids recommendations in our packet.
Yes,
You're recommending?
Reserve Advisors. They are more expensive, but I don't think the other 2 companies have an full understanding of the expansiveness.
Any questions for Lauren about that?
Finance committees looked at this too, or are they typically? They don't, okay.
It's budgeted in your reserve study to do another reserve.
Yeah,
study.
I didn't know if they opine on any of the.
All right, next up, E, waiver of liability for debit credit card accounts.
So this will be on your board agenda in 2 weeks as well. We're shutting down the Regions account because it's just petty cash, but we still need a MasterCard or Visa to pay for liquor licenses for events. So we need the board authority to get a Visa or MasterCard from CIT, your
Okay.
current bank.
All right, so that's just housekeeping.
Well,
I guess.
Questions?
yeah. I mean, this document is basically, hey, just so you know, everything is CROA's fault and you can't blame Grand Manners or Real Manage for anything ever, no matter what. That's what this document says. I don't know if this is normal or if we're contractually obligated to sign this, but
Yeah, along those lines, I think, where it said,
Who's
don't
it?
require the board to solely responsible for obtaining and maintaining IRS form W-9 from any payees and supplying real match the appropriate records.
also that's a cost. We also have to pay money. For the back credit.
We're paying for credit card
We're paying $310 per card for,
to CIT,
no, to Grand Manners.
to Grand Manners?
Real Manage, yes.
Why does Real Manage get money for us giving you a credit card?
That I don't know. The other option is we could switch to Truist for our petty cash account and just get a debit card through there,
Which would cost
which would cost you nothing.
nothing.
And if
I love the nothing
it
idea.
would give Jen the ability to have access into the account, because right now we also don't have the visibility into the Regions account. We rely on the board members to print out the statements for us and give it to us for reconciliation.
No, that's fine. How does this just show up like this though, without discussion or other options though?
Well, that's what we're discussing now, I guess.
The truest thing was on the slide. This was the answer that was given to me from corporate in terms of getting a card from CIT.
And CIT, because I
Because the
knew,
direction from the finance committee was supposed
CIT
to be to
is
put all
our
the
bank?
money in CIT.
You bank with CIT? Really?
We don't want to, but we have to.
It's a sketchy little bank.
We can talk.
Okay, as a financial guy, I that would not be my first choice. All right, yeah, we need an alternative.
Yeah.
Census? Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Management company contract. I can feel it. What are we talking about? Who brought that one up?
Brought it up.
Okay, Kate.
Okay. The reason why I brought it up was because I feel like we should discuss this as a board if we're going to have the contract automatically renew. If not, then timing wise, if we need to update the RFP to send back out, then this is something we should be doing right now. So I think it's something that the board needs to, make a decision on.
When does the contract renew? October 31st. And it's under the same terms?
Well,
Three.
I think,
No, there's built-in increases.
does it go to
That's-
7%? Yeah, on personnel. So it does increase.
And what's the out on it?
90 days. How long, I don't know the term of the renewal, how long it is it 3 year?
They're 3 year.
Yeah,
But we do have a 90-day out, correct?
We're wrapping up the initial term, which is 3 years, and then it's another 3 years for the renewal, and then another 3 years, and then the charter requires us to go out to bid. After that.
I think that's correct, where if we do nothing, it renews for 3 years, but you do have that 90-day.
Does it renew? Can it be modified like the contract?
If you want to engage in contract negotiations, I believe Stacy has stated that she is open to discussion.
Right. So it would be.
Yeah, see, RFPs scare me a little bit because they're hard and they're
Time consuming.
hugely time consuming, and they're gonna, one of the things we all, at least in this election, ran on is getting some stuff done. And if we change management companies in midstream, nothing's gonna get done for 18 months minimum.
So the middle of an action plan, right?
Yeah,
We haven't,
we're busy little beans.
I think RFP is output after you've gotten to the point of the action plan.
They did complete the survey. There was is there a, is there gonna be another survey? Like, what is the next steps? Because they just sent out their updated survey to the residents. We got the feedback, we did. I don't think the feedback,
It wasn't good.
right.
No, it wasn't.
So based on that, I
It
mean,
wasn't,
what's,
It wasn't horrible, but
It wasn't horrible.
it wasn't horrible. I mean, I've seen better. There've been surveys done before, but
So you know how the contract is set up, correct? The CROA contract under CJC? Have you looked to see how that's all, the cost sharing and everything? We'd basically have to get out of the CJC contract in order to do that. Potentially, if we're talking about RFP, there's a larger discussion involved
that's why I said maybe we should have
No,
this
I'm just saying.
discussion.
without the action plan being.
maybe we should have a
So
discussion.
there's a lot of moving things that have to go.
I mean, yeah, I'm not disagreeing that it's not something that's easy, but if it's something that is required, that's what we're here
I
for.
don't think it's required.
No.
No, I'm not saying required
Necessary.
yeah, if it's something that, not
Um,
required, but something that, maybe, I don't want to use the wrong words, but like, if it's something that should be done, that's what we're here for. That's why I'm asking the question. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. Celia, your thoughts?
Okay, so I was part of that. When I came on the board in 2021, Gary should be able to answer this. If I came on the board in 2021, how many months before March was the task force in place working on the RFP? In 2020.
4.5 months.
So
Gary's response was 4.5 months for anyone listening.
Prior to March.
4.5 months before March of 2021. So if we wanted to even do any kind of an RFP, and that RFP was intense for me.
I don't think
I
you'd
mean,
have to start from scratch.
You still have to, 7 months, you still have to get a task force together. You still have to put the RFP together. You still have to send it out. I think when I came on, Gary, how many management companies did it go out to? I'm only asking Gary because he was
He
on.
was on it, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So
Right.
Plus, Gary is the font of all knowledge.
he is.
We sent the request.
Hey, Gary, do me a favor. Come on up.
I'm sorry, Gary.
No, he needs the exercise. We gotta keep it moving here.
I mean,
What, you brought it with you?
Of course. Always come
Gosh,
prepared.
you're prepared.
he's always prepared.
Holy hell.
We sent Gary Heltzberg. We sent the request for proposal to approximately 19 different companies that were either licensed to do work here or have the capability and the experience to manage a large organization with commercial and residential properties. And out of that,
only about half responded.
I think when I came on, they were narrowed down to.
We narrowed it down to
13.
7. Yeah,
I don't
13.
know why 13 sticks out.
You're right. We narrowed it down to 13.
Then we went down.
And then after reviewing all of the responses, we recommended to the board 7 different companies. Yes.
And then by April, we had the companies. May started the tour of the community, correct?
Yes.
We toured all 7 management companies.
6.
6,
We
okay.
had to eliminate 1.
Right, we did. I'm sorry. We toured the community with all the management companies. They answered questions. They were asked questions. We went into June now, I think. In July, we had extensive meetings. I remember the first week in July, we had an executive session. When I don't know if I can talk about that.
Not what you said.
Hmm?
Not what you said.
If you allow me, let me help you out.
Okay, remember.
Here is the timeline.
Okay, thank you. But I remember it in detail.
Thank you.
And
Here you go, sir. So,
I'm just gonna give you my
then
seat.
Grand Manners wasn't supposed to start until January 1st, right? But because we were in such bad shape with our management company, we pleaded with them to come on as November 1st. Am I correct so far, Gary? Sort of,
there was a
kind of?
board member who recommended that you start the contract on November 1st. And Grand Manners accepted that.
Because I think because we really needed to, we lost the executive director. We had an interim executive director.
You were losing personnel.
A lot of
previous
personnel.
management companies operating.
Let me, if you don't, may I interrupt for a second? Because you just made one of the most powerful points of all. If we need to very, very seriously consider whether or not we want to throw this board, this community, this HOA into that kind of turmoil, because human nature being what human nature is, once you say, we're not happy with you, we're looking for somebody to replace you, the whole attitude of an organization changes, flips 180 degrees, and people start leaving, jumping ship, all hell breaks loose, Jared.
I don't think that that's necessarily the perspective. We bid out all of our contracts that are multiple years. We bid out.
No. I'm just saying, if we were to say right now, we're just getting ready, because
But I'm saying it wouldn't necessarily be because of that. It would be because we need to negotiate new terms or new whatever. We have a $3 million 3-year landscape contract. And at the end of the 3 years, we're not just going to give it to them. We're going to bid it out again. So,
and there's a bid built, there's an automatic charter rebid built in.
And a management company is different than a landscape vendor, right? These are different. This is really the core of our community. They run basically everything. So I would argue that's not, that's a false
CDD
equivalence.
just did with Infomart.
CDD what?
Actually,
This
they
is-
did it the same time we did it with them. Also, I lost my train.
I'm not saying we shouldn't bid. I'm not. I'm just playing devil's advocate, because I was pretty vocal about the fact that I was really unhappy with Grand Manners. I thought Grand Manners came in and did a terrible job initially. But I also like to give people and organizations the benefit of the doubt. Now, if things do not dramatically improve, and the playground debacle just illustrates that to me better than anything. But the problem is, even putting a management company out to bid, as Charles said, is a much bigger deal, because it's a much longer process. And it's not like, well, this guy cuts the grass the same as this guy cuts the grass. The entire operation between CCMC and Grand Manners changed dramatically.
And look, I'm not going to mince words. If you think that moving management company is the panacea for our problems, for our governance problems, for our oversight problems, for the fact that the last 3 boards have been a complete mess, it's going to follow us to every single company that we go to. Why don't we try to get Grand Manners good? Why don't we focus on maybe coming back to the table? focus on making the contract what we want it to be. Why don't we focus on getting through the action plan? RFP is really a dangerous word. And I said RFP too a few months ago.
And as Lauren said, we can renegotiate.
Correct.
We can, and we can say, we would like to renegotiate some of the terms and discuss it with them because, for example, there should have been some sort of clause in the contract that should Grand Manners fail in such a spectacular way that there was a monetary penalty.
Correct.
I think Grand Manners should have kicked money back to us for the playground thing because so much of it fell on their shoulders. Yes, the board shares a terrific amount of responsibility too for allowing it, but the recommendations did come from Grand Manners.
Hold on, I'm gonna push back on that one, because in April 22, we came to the board with Rep Services and another vendor. We recommended Rep Services and we were told, no, go find.
Oh,
something.
see, now this is
Yeah.
different than what I heard from some
Yeah.
board members.
There you go.
Very different.
But again, it goes back to the lack of oversight, and we decided to focus on theaters and, lawn sports. And my point is, we have to get Grand Manners really good. We need to focus on what we do as an HOA, which is covenants, ARC, recreation,
Maintenance.
and let the master plan advisory group do their thing. Let people play in the other areas. We want to focus on getting you good, and we're making the investment.
I think we always have the nuclear option if we need to use it, but I'm with you.
I'm correct.
I honestly think that Grand Manners is working harder than they were. Where that goes, I don't know.
If I may, one of the reasons that I pushed for the board to have a performance evaluation last spring was to identify any shortcomings of the management company. And it took till July to get that board to respond. Then it took till November for that previous board to make those results known to both Grand Manners, as well as the public. So there was a huge delay in previous boards' ability to task Grand Manners to perform better because they didn't release the results. That's all water under the bridge.
Yeah, that's water under the bridge.
But we now have the opportunity with those shortcomings identified and an action plan that's in work. I think you owe it to the community to finish that action plan and see where you stand without going too far down the road.
I want to come back real quickly, Celia, for my edification, because I've got some bad information. Rep Services was recommended along with those idiots.
Rep Services and another vendor were brought to the board in April 2022 because we were struggling getting vendors to respond to the request for bids. Management recommended Rep Services at the time because we knew they had done the other playground in the town and they did good work. We were told, no, that's too expensive. Try to find something cheaper.
How did we end up with them?
They were the
Lowest cost.
the
Because
lowest
they were
price.
doing a lot of work for the community.
And they were doing a lot of work.
But
for
they
the
hadn't
community.
done any playgrounds. And
What were they doing?
They had
They
done
were-
one tot lot.
They were doing,
Okay, I heard some different things.
they were doing repair work at some of the arbors. They were doing general contractor work for us.
Not playground.
Wow.
So
Learning
so I-
curve.
I think
Yeah,
if I
Eric?
may, the one piece that I would say here, so I am not in favor of an RFP. I'll come out and say it. I do think we still have a long ways to go with some of the improvement plan, and I would hope that we would see some of the pieces on the performance plan increase in kind of their velocity on when we're trying to get some things created. The piece that concerns me out of all this, and I do think that we as a board need to decide if this is a direction that we would want to go and give direction back to Grand Manners and specifically Stacy there, is I do think that we need to look at that if we do decide that we want to continue with them, we do need to look at the clause in there that essentially everything would increase, the contracted increases in there, because I don't think it's fair when we're still going through a get well plan to then give a vendor more cash when we're having some challenges. That would be the only piece that I would say, and I think that we need to try to figure out if that's the alignment that we want to go. Then we need to prepare Grand Manners to let them know that we need to negotiate that now. Sorry, Celia.
So when we talk about Grand Manners, in my head, I always think corporate. But
Mhm.
since the beginning, and it's a pain point with me, ARC and covenants has been a failure. Not by any means Lauren's fault, Jeffrey's fault, our ARC coordinator, our covenant.
So you're not saying it's not our staff, it's
It's not
corporate.
our staff, it's corporate. And I sent an email, I don't know if you saw the email, I copied the whole board, I sent this to Stacy of a little blurb I found from 2022 saying, this president of Real Manage promised that this was going to be taken care of ASAP, and we're in 2024 now.
Gotcha.
So we need them to recognize that this is still not fixed, and it's not.
Well, and that's why I think that's why I bring back the renegotiation. There, as Eric said, do the automatic increase.
But
Maybe
if we're increasing staff salary, that's
that's an
one
increase.
thing. Yeah, but it's not their fault. They should be able to be entitled to a raise. Am I correct?
No, no.
We can't look at this at that level. We can't look at it as an individual level. We have to
Right.
Look at it as a
As a
whole,
whole.
multi-million-dollar.
Right.
contract.
But we've also, our processes for covenants and ARC, we sat through that workshop. We have to evolve with the times, and we have to also realize that we're not perfect. We're not a perfect
What-
organization, and we
what
have to look at opportunities.
Was the
too.
little blurb in that email that the president of Real Manage said
I didn't.
to the.
She said,
Oh, we didn't realize that Celebration was such a unique community. Well, you made promises to us while you were sitting up here. That
well,
your software
and I
was
do know,
superior.
having talked to other management companies, that we are
We are.
considered the kind of property you want on your resume. In fact, there are probably very, very few others in America
Right.
that carry the same kind of stature.
I mean, there have been multiple times that I agree that at minimum, we need to renegotiate the contract because I've been told in meetings from staff, well, that's not what the contract is, so too bad. Literally too bad one time in a meeting from the grant manager's employee. So clearly the contract needs renegotiated at a minimum. I mean, even with this thing with the credit cards, it shows up in our board packet that that's the result of what this is. I think we have 4 options that we can maybe narrow down today. Do nothing, and it renews. Renegotiate the current contract. An RFP with the top 5 from the previous one, with the RFP that exists, or a whole new thing, whole
Those,
new RFP.
to be honest, those 5, you can ask any of the condominium associations that are like,
They all suck.
No, if I may, you don't want to take the previous 5 recommendations because it's been 2.5
There
years.
was a reason why.
There's legal issues that occur between then and now. And
I-
you need to research that.
I honestly think, just sense of the board, I'm just getting a sense of the board, that the highest level that the board wants to take it, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it's a discussion, is a renegotiation.
A simple renegotiation.
A simple
It's not
renegotiation.
a matter of, let's rip.
Sense of the board, that's, I think we're divided on this, I do,
And
and I hate that we're divided on it, but it's not serious division.
I guess, what is the timeline on the action plan? Do we know?
The 120-day action plan. I think the end of March is the.
And what's the expectation from the end of the action plan?
We have to decide.
Grand manager
That's
is
the
good
board
to go,
goes
or?
and decide if performance is improved.
So then is it that we wait for the action plan to complete and then negotiations start on the contract? Because with the contract we have, I would definitely want incentives in there for them to perform, such as pools and playgrounds are open 95% of the days through the year, something of that.
What
And
are you talking about?
He's talking about
Just
performance
certain incentives
incentives
that they
as
have
opposed to
to
automatic
perform
payments.
as management of celebration.
What's it got to do?
Well, but
That if the pools are closed for 2 months out of the year, they're not managing that.
The pools are never closed.
I know, but I'm just saying.
No, he was just making a hypothetical.
So,
Okay.
playgrounds, if playgrounds are shut for 1 month out of the year, that's not acceptable.
2 years
Well,
out of
So
5.
figuring out
We
what
know
that
we
structure
can't
is.
go back and fix it. The egg crack it's broken, we can't glue it back together.
What will
We're
be done
trying
to prevent it
moving
for the
forward.
future?
What can we put the carrot out there?
Right,
Yeah.
Where can we put the carrot for Grand Manners to perform?
make sure
The
that,
contract currently doesn't do.
make sure that the board president signs, an executed contract and not a proposal.
But hold on a second. We need
I'm
to,
just talking.
All right.
so what are we going, and it's a fair question. So what are we going to do? So we have 120 days. Do we want to extend it? Do we want to just stop it there? And how do we want to evaluate? That's the next question. So we did our, well, the 4 new directors, we did a board evaluation, the 3 new directors. Does it make sense to do another evaluation with the 7 of us? I don't know. I mean, I'd ask you, Mr. Hudspeth, do you have any?
You may want to simplify it. This is just my thought.
Sure,
To simplify it and keep it short and simple,
right.
you may want to evaluate the items in the action plan
Yeah.
rather than the 141 in the statement of work and the contract. Because the action plan addresses the shortcomings that you identified. So just evaluate the action plan, check that performance.
I think the other
Um,
piece for me too here is that, and I agree with Gary on evaluating the items in the action plan. I think at minimum, we need to provide direction that states, no matter what, we don't want the contract to auto renew. And I think we can tell Grand Manners that now, and we can tell them that, look, we're going to do something. We don't know if it's renegotiate. We don't know if it's, something else, but I do think that we need to owe it to them now to at least put them on notice.
I think that's very fair, and I think that the way that's being proposed, from what I've heard from the majority, even those who are a little more strident and would probably love to see the RFP, is that something has to happen. Let them know something has to happen, that we do have the giant stick that we don't want to use, and that we really don't want to use that.
And we also don't want to scare off the staff.
No,
Absolutely not.
no, we
For
want to
their
keep our staff.
into
We
the
have,
community. I don't like, and I always say, I'm out there every day at the pools, at the playgrounds. Andrew and I went for a drive around Celebration Saturday. I see with my eyes what was when CCMC was here. First place I took Andrew was Central Park. What was, what is, and what's now, I see an improvement just over the last few months.
I do
The
too.
sand at the playground, that sand's been a pain. That sand at North Village Playground,
Then
the
why,
raccoon thing.
why don't we do this? Go ahead.
No.
No, I'm saying, why don't we do this? I mean, we all kind of are in the same place. We're saying we want better performance. We want some performance incentives and disincentives. That requires a new contract, possibly, probably. We're not happy. We want to keep Grand Manners. We like the people. We just want to make it work better for the community. Is that?
Yeah, I don't
One
think it's the
thing-
No.
And now that we sunset this one
Prince and
landscape
Company, yeah.
company, when we get a new one, I mean, that's gonna take how long, Lauren, to send out RFPs and all that?
I already have it prepped and written.
Oh, I'm sure.
No, she just, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's gonna take a couple of months.
Right.
So,
And we talked, sorry, I didn't mean to, but we talked about it at the last meeting. You need us to fund things, right? So that's also, there's collateral damage being caused by the board from our inaction in giving you what you need. Now, obviously, oversight and making sure that things are maintained, so we're not having to replace these things over and over again is a different story. I think hopefully the 7 of us are committed to getting in front of that. It doesn't happen again. Again, I just think.
Well, then why don't we do this? Just in the spirit of. Yeah, please, Andrew.
I think,
Sorry.
I just disagree with Eric on we're not gonna renew the contract at all. I think that's kind of maybe the worst case scenario right now of we have 6 months as a board to find something better with Grand Manners on the future contract.
But
If we can't, then the fallback would be we renew it. And then the RFP would be, we're gonna go a totally different direction, which I don't think we're there today.
You need Grand.
No, but we can still 90 day out.
yeah, we need Grand Manners. They don't need us.
9 day out is way worse than.
I'm just saying, we have it though. We would have it in our pocket if we needed it.
Just
I
want to say
I
that
think
go ahead.
go ahead, Jared.
Okay.
I think the
He's sending
only
it to
thing
you.
that scares me a little bit is that 90-day out works both ways. And so if we are too much of a pain in the butt for Grand Manors, let's face it, we kicked on to Grand Manors before they were real managed or before that was 100% official. And they're now a larger company than when we originally took them on. And so it does start to become a business decision on whether or not we're worth the headache. That's the only thing that scares me.
They were under real management.
They were under
before
real
we
management.
Sent our first. letter to them.
Okay.
And that is, you're right, that double-edged sword exists. Yes,
They
Karen.
looped on with Evergreen looped on with Grand Manor.
Yeah, Evergreen.
That was the
Sure.
two systems.
Okay.
Sure.
That's fair. That's fair.
I disagree, Andrew, that the current contract does not serve Celebration well and does not match the RFP that was issued. So at bare minimum, we need to renegotiate a contract. I also could agree with Don that the most extreme we need to do is renegotiate a contract. So that may just be what needs to happen. But I do not find that the contract, in my experience, having been pointed to it because they're not going to do this because of this and this because of that, the current contract doesn't serve what we need.
I understand the contract's not great, but having that contract in a management company better than no management company.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm coming from, where it's kind of the plan B or C that's there. Obviously, we need to negotiate with Grand Manors and approach them in the next 6 months to try to figure out what contract works for Celebration. But that's got to be the backstop for us, that we have a safety, parachute. If we can't get the terms done.
Can't hear you with those.
Softer and softer.
Sorry.
Gary, those management companies, they're public, right?
Um,
Or is it just the two finalists that were public?
Oh, it should be public knowledge if it was task force. It wasn't executive.
publicly owned company or private?
No, public information.
Public information.
Information that the homeowners can have.
So
It was made public during the RFP.
So it was Grand Manors, it was Century,
Yes,
it was Castle,
yes,
it was Infomart,
yes.
it was
CCMC.
CCMC, Associa,
Yeah.
and who was the seventh?
It doesn't matter.
First Residential,
It doesn't matter because we eliminated them.
right, so
So-
there was, see, I didn't remember.
What's funny thing is it's the same players.
They're, they.
It's the same
they
cast of
manage-
characters every time. That's the
they
one that we did.
manage A lot of the condos.
There's so few of them. But you're real quickly, Charles.
The other thing that we've been talking about, and I think we all agree on, is the role of the president. So the role of the president is dictated in the management contract. So the management contract can be the place where we talk about the role of the president, reducing the power of the president. That's a mechanism for us to be able to do that as well. Whether that be through, consensus, whether that be through whatever that may be, but that's another
I
reason.
couldn't find that in my
No, it's in the management contract.
no, the contract just says you will provide one voice to management.
I thought it was-
It doesn't say president.
It is, okay, my mistake. Okay,
Anyway,
well, we can make it.
I think we're just kind of saying the same thing over and over and over again. That what we're saying is we want to work with Grand Manors. We don't want to sever that relationship as a board generally. We want to address some issues. We want to talk about the contract coming up, and which is a perfectly acceptable thing to do when a contract is getting ready to renew, there is nothing wrong with renegotiating. And that's why you have a 3-year to potentially renegotiate. So let's do that. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea.
Board?
Casey's on and texted me and said that she's open for renegotiating, starting
There we go.
whenever you want.
But like I remember when they first came here, Grand Manors, I always thought in the back of my head with what they were gifted with. We gifted them our community from our previous management company. I still don't understand how they didn't hightail it out of here.
Well, but we're 3 years past that and we're doing,
Yeah.
I want to apologize to Lauren because I'm being very critical at this meeting, but that's what this topic is.
Mhm.
Like, here we are 3 years later and we decided to close the playground to replace sand during spring break. Like, it's things like that that we need to get past at a much higher level that I think is what's important.
And that's why things like that can be addressed
Right, through this management.
Do this, yes, and guidance from us.
So
All right.
question, question,
So,
Yep, Andrew, what?
question. Go ahead,
do you
Eric.
want Gary to do anything for us to do another review of the action items once the 120 days is done?
I don't see anything wrong with Gary helping to facilitate that. No, because Gary's very effective at this stuff. And we have another member of our audience who'd like to
I'll
chime in.
just say it here. The 3 year, trying to renegotiate that, might think about the term and that could be renegotiated. Trying to renegotiate a 3 year window, it's gonna make both parties more conservative, where they may position themselves. So look at a 1 year extension and negotiate that. See what the proof of concept is for that.
Wisdom from a
I think I was gonna add,
mega corporate exec.
do we need to put together a contract negotiating liaison, or will that go through the president's view, or will it be a smaller team with the board to kind of run that?
I don't think anyone should be excluded.
I don't think anyone should be excluded. I think that
Public discussion.
Who's the conversation with Stacy and Lauren as far as from the board?
Developments.
All of us at a public meeting.
Right.
I think we can handle that. I really do, because I think there's a high degree of civility.
We just come up with what we wanted to.
Right. What do we want to see in it? We suggest, every board member says, this is the kinds of things we'd like to see. We as a board discuss it. We as a board say, no, that was a bad idea. That was a terrible idea. That was a great idea. You know, whatever it is. And then we go back to Grand Manners and say, Stacy, here's what we would like to see.
They're gonna negotiate that.
Right. And then you come back to us.
So I'm going to point back at the contract for CROA matters. Managing agent can rely on the CROA president. That is in our contract.
That's in our contract with Grand Manners.
That is in our contract with Grand Manners.
Okay.
It's not in my board binder. I
It's in our contract. It's in our executive contract.
Good to know.
I'm just saying that's
Good to
something
know.
too we can affect.
Yes.
find that, Charles, because I have.
He's good. They should-
Appointment and acceptance, section 2.
You have to have one voice for the contract.
Right.
Reason.
Right.
But again, we can,
Again,
Remember the,
I've got to tell you, I promise you as a board that if you tell me to say something, I'm going to say what you told me to say. If it's, if I'm the conduit. Anyway, can we move on? Good for us.
So
Thank you, Gary,
Don,
so
just,
much.
Don, just
Eric?
we're clear on action items. We're notifying Stacy?
No, this is not an action item. This is a discussion.
Okay.
This would be something, if we could make it an action item at a meeting, but we're
Okay.
not at action item right now. So we're just discussing making it an action item potentially.
Got it.
Everything we're doing on the agenda right now, Eric, is pure discussion.
We don't need to do anything until we're past the 120-day mark at the end of March anyway.
Right.
We shouldn't do it.
We shouldn't.
Right, sure. Okay,
Next
yeah,
is,
that's fair. That's fair.
Long Meadow Playground, the land of the giant grasshoppers.
They're gone.
No,
I noticed.
Okay, that was me too.
Where did the giant grasshoppers go?
One was broken last week.
Oh.
When I went to
Your
Long Meadow.
playground specialist recommended them being removed.
They're junk, yes. And ugly as sin. Tiny.
Yeah, okay, so with Long Meadow Playground, we got back the,
No.
consultation.
it's not inspection report.
Okay, we had some questions about, is there supposed to be like an actual safety inspection report for Long Meadow? Can there be? And my question was, because obviously this consultation was not, but when Long Meadow first opened through the permitting process, when it was reopened, did the county come out and do an inspection? And it passed.
Out of
County's
County.
inspection isn't a certified playground safety inspector. It has to do with their,
So then the board requested a second inspection, right, for Long Meadow? Is that for safety purposes? Then why was, like, it just a consultation?
it's not just, it's a consultation because we had said we need your report so we can start moving on this RFP. She still will provide a safety report, but she's waiting on information from the manufacturer of the companies, which is holding up her report. But in the interest of
Something's still
time,
coming. Okay.
I asked Jeff to kind of force her hand and give me something that I can use.
But we are
Same thing
still
as
getting
Spring
in.
Park. It was a playground consultation.
But that one's not open.
So we are still gonna get in its safety.
And then my second question with Long Meadow is with the equipment there, like with the grasshoppers raking, is it under warranty? That equipment? Was it ever under warranty?
Probably for a couple of months.
Plus the people who put it in were,
I would say the improper installation on this
Yeah.
report is going to,
Probably avoid any warranty that you.
yeah. So the warranty is gonna end up being moot because of the whole process probably.
Okay, then what is the board's thoughts on how we're gonna proceed with Long Meadow, addressing Long Meadow?
Well, my understanding was we were gonna look at fixing Long Meadow,
Fixing or replacing?
fixing or replacing.
I feel like I
Oh,
want to.
well, this was the previous board, so.
So they were waiting for Diane's report to see if it was fixable, safe, and then go out to RFP the plan was to fix.
be careful, I know we're still in RFP. When we got the 360 bids, we have now a pretty long list of things that need to be fixed in Long Meadow. Did these vendors have any idea? Because they didn't have this report, I assume, but there's different.
You're out to bid for Spring Park only. You're not out to bid for.
Well, I'm going back in time to Long Meadow. We did this with 360. Did they have this level of detail at any point? Or it was just basically on them to go out and kind of assess it.
Go out and assess.
So this changes really kind of the game a little bit around really the next steps for Long Meadow potentially. Like, does it? I don't know. I mean,
We
does
didn't
it
have
hurt?
numbers back from 360 on Long Meadow.
It was just,
No, didn't we have both? We'd repair. Yeah, we both Long Meadow and Spring
For repair.
for repair.
how much was the
For
Long
repair.
Meadow repair?
We did both for repair. That wasn't the replace though at that time.
So the 360 bids were to repair Long Meadow and replace with the finished Spring Park with the existing equipment.
Yeah, which I guess.
Was that one bid covered both? I think it was
Yeah.
around 200,000. So that was for both Long Meadow and Spring.
They did two separate costs.
Came out to approximately. I thought,
Well, and my point with that is, does that change? I'm trying to go back and think through like what the scope was then. They didn't have this report. Cost now would potentially include this versus the cost incrementally to replace it. I'm not advocating to replace Long Meadow. Just trying to think. Need to at least.
Well, we're waiting for the report still.
Yeah, I mean,
Honestly, without that report.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know until we see the report. If the report says it's irreparable, guess what we're gonna do?
But this report shows things need to be moved at a
Yeah.
minimum.
Yeah.
There's fall heights.
No, but I mean, yeah, but that's part of repairing. If it's reparable,
Yeah.
then repairing could be moving things.
Slides are too high, aren't the slides too high? Or-
Well,
Just one side, it's 1 inch.
Yeah, I mean.
I would suggest we wait for the report.
so I have a
And then we
question
move
about
on from there.
us actually getting the report though. So we've heard for a couple of meetings now that we're waiting for a response from the manufacturer. We're still waiting from them, right? What's the likelihood that we're actually going to receive a response? Because I guess I'm surprised that it's taken this long to even receive a response from a manufacturer about their own equipment. And if they haven't responded by now, are they ever going to?
yeah, they're in China.
Yeah, the odds of getting, I mean, have you ever called a company and tried to get them to answer the phone and they call you back? Any company in America?
That's kind
or
of my
China?
point, though. That's kind of my point, though. So I think my fear is that what we need to decide as a board, what happens if we don't ever get a response from the manufacturer, and then determine
Well,
what we're going to.
why would the response from the manufacturer change anything we're doing? Because,
That dictates what we're doing with the
Installation
inspection
specs.
report.
okay, their specs.
There's questions on fall zones,
Got it.
installation, footers, headers, things like that.
It's dangerous.
But that's all probably gonna roll back into our legal stuff too, right?
Yeah, I mean, the point of the safety inspection was one, to see how the playground was, and two, use that as a starting point for the writing of an RFP to repair.
And we expect that?
We expect it, but we just don't know.
No, when do we expect the report?
We don't,
Well,
we've been waiting for weeks.
Can't you just not get manufacturer's recommendations and go on national standards?
That's what you have
That's
now.
what we have.
All right, let's ask her to just get
Get it done.
it done based on on some sort of there must be a standard.
She referenced them all.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
Just made her-
the heck with the manufacturer, they're probably not gonna respond.
Correct. That's my
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, okay,
But even then, wouldn't the safety standard be trump any kind of manufacturing?
Of
thing
course.
too? So, yeah, I mean, in looking at it, right, when I read through it, the merry-go-round and the slide is too close to each other.
It's very detailed.
That primer and merry-go-round is too close to each other, and the spring rockers were too close to each other, so if there is that safety standard, then we need to figure out
Yeah,
what
I-
needs to move to get within safety, so that's a
I
safety.
hate to say it, like on Spring Park, we're gonna have to clean up and spend money on somebody else's mess. It's, it's sad, but we can't leave Long Meadow. And I don't think it's gonna be reparable. I live right there. I cannot see that park
And then
existing in its current form.
if you have vertigo or something,
I think we're gonna have
you
to,
can't even walk. on that.
What does that do with the hearing now, though? The Long Meadow is open.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, I would say we don't do them both at the same time.
No, I'm saying Long Meadow is open right now
Yeah.
and we have this inspection report.
No, we don't. We don't.
Or
well, we will.
Because I actually read this thinking it was an inspection report, and I had to read it 4 times because I wasn't understanding it. And then when I realized it's not an inspection report, because they don't make any recommendations of
Right.
what you need to do. They just say this is how it
Right.
should be. That makes sense for a consultation report. If we get the inspection report, it may need to be closed.
Right.
Certain pieces may need to be disabled, but we don't know that until we get this.
But is this? okay,
Yeah.
No, that's fair.
So I'll pose a question just in terms of timeliness of getting things repaired, because we know we're gonna have to go out to bid to at minimum repair this. Do we have Vigilant use this report to start drafting that RFP to get things moving?
This consultation.
Well, wait, I wouldn't. I would like
We
to,
need to wait for what actually needs. to
I want to see it
But they,
before I direct Vigilant to do anything.
but they can build the shell, they can build the chassis of the RFP around that, like what we did before without the Spring Park.
Well, but is
We plug that in.
a shell to repair or a shell to replace?
Well, that's what we need to.
See, that's the thing.
And this consultation report doesn't even talk about turf, and we all know that all the turf and underlay needs to be replaced there. So like, this is not a useful document
coming up.
for what we need
So
now.
I don't think we should tell,
I agree.
I think we should wait to tell Vigilant anything until we know more. We just don't have enough knowledge. That's one of the problems. One of the things we want to avoid doing is going on Babcock. We just don't want to just to get something done, don't do it badly.
So how are we gonna direct Lauren to go in what direction with Diane?
No, just we need the report
Have her finalize it based on national standards and forget the
Yeah.
manufacturers.
Okay.
so that we can
So I
move
think-
forward. Harry,
Yeah, we need to be prepared as a board, though, in my opinion, that when we get a report, an actual report that states that we have equipment that is unsafe, we need to be prepared that either pieces of equipment need to be disabled or parts of the equipment that's unsafe needs to be disabled, because I really do not feel comfortable sitting on a board after I've received a report from an inspector stating something's unsafe to then still let the community be on it. Even though it's an unpopular opinion that we're going to have another playground that's partially probably out of commission, but we need to be prepared for that.
I think we all agree with that. And once we get that report, I think then we can make a very good decision and throw another RFP out, and maybe we can come up with a plan to get part of one done faster, get something, open half a playground. I don't know, but let's until we get the report.
Can we proactively, because we went through this with the Vigilant addendum, do we need to do anything to execute anything now, or do we have to wait for that? Because Long Meadow was not in scope, there wasn't scope, so we're okay, they're ready to move based on what, okay.
Waiting for this report.
Okay, good job. Now on to 9-month extensions for 6 recreational contractors. I would assume this is going to be an agenda item. I was right. Any? What?
I have nothing to discuss about that.
Katie, anything to discuss? Jim? Andrew?
Good.
Carl? Donna? No, you're good. All of them.
All right. Academy Road painting cycle is also an agenda item.
Okay.
We went out to RFP. The committee is reviewing the bids that came back. They will make a recommendation to the board for your upcoming meeting.
That's for reserve, from reserve.
Reserve, yep.
Okay. How about shade structures? Oh, question. What? Oh, you put it on? Go ahead.
Need shade structures down at East Lawn, I'll say it again, and on Village Playground.
The RFP was issued as requested on Friday of last week
A both court,
for both parks, and I threw in the pool equipment
Oh,
shade
okay.
structures too, and asked them for bid sheets separately for all, so you can pick or choose.
so that's gonna be the equipment at Spring Park and the equipment at
Island Village.
I think North Village has,
The other ones are
looks like
covered.
a shed.
Mhm.
That's capital improvement. That would come from capital improvement potentially, because we don't. Okay.
Any other questions on that? Restroom fix up. Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah,
No, you're good.
Andrew and I
Don't,
went out,
we need to clean it up.
Andrew and I went out on Saturday, right, Andrew?
Yes.
What was the worst bathroom we saw? It's
Hard to
just-
tell. It's a competition.
Well, I have to say, I'm embarrassed. And it's not any fault of yours, what Spring Park bathroom looks like. It is worse than going into a gas station bathroom. It's not dirty. It's disgusting, but it's not dirty.
We talked about this at the org meeting, because we talked about this in conjunction with the action plan, and the
But
board gave
yeah.
us directive to do some
We did. We told them,
lipstick on a pig.
But
For
you
lack of a
can't
better
do
word.
anything in that bathroom. Spring Lakeside actually looks pretty good.
So here's what I'll say about the lipstick on the pig. So we walked the bathrooms with Brian. We kind of went through and said, let's, painting, replacing some fixtures. But really, it's not gonna make a huge impact on the aesthetics of these bathrooms, number one. Number two, the other complaint that we get from residents is that the color scheme is hideous and they want something more modern like Island Village. But if I change the interior color of the bathroom, it's gonna not match the exterior of the building, and then we're clashing and it's not
It's,
can't we
continuous.
just go neutral?
Yeah.
John, the doors are rust.
No, I know there's stuff that needs to be, but doors can be, steel doors can be sanded and puttied,
I think
epoxy.
they did that down
They did
in
that.
North Village.
Yeah, so those can be repaired because the point was, we're waiting on the master plan
Well, wait,
to do the big stuff.
well, wait,
Yeah.
okay, so waiting for the master plan advisor. And I'm gonna haunt you all year, so prepare
It's
yourself.
okay, I have plenty of ghosts in my
No
family.
matter what they put at Lakeside.
Yeah.
No matter what goes there, a two-story building, blow it out, anything. The bathroom doors to that pool are always gonna be there because they have to.
That's not,
Wait.
that's
No,
not
I-
necessarily true
Wait,
though.
wait, let me finish, otherwise I'm gonna lose my train of thought.
Okay.
So. Do you want a beautiful building, whatever they come up with, that's probably not gonna be for quite a few years down the road? And share a bathroom with people using the pool. Island Village has their own bathrooms for the pool. And their own beautiful bathrooms in their clubhouse. So. Those bathrooms at Lakeside, no matter what gets built, and it's not gonna be for a while, we can't keep telling the residents, well, we're just gonna paint it. We're celebration. It shouldn't look like that. The two bathrooms should not look like that.
Yeah, so I think along those lines,
What do you think it needs, Andy?
well, we need to make the determination that I think most of us agree Spring Park and Lakeside should be our focus. Should that be pulled out of the master plan board? And we are gonna do the pool decks. We're gonna redo the bathrooms. And I don't know, Heritage Hall roof. And that's something that we as a board can proceed with without the survey from master plan.
Right,
advisory
it's
group,
not
everything
going-
else. That's the
Let
conversation.
me ask
I'm
you
having.
both a question.
Is that what we're gonna do?
Let me ask you both a question, because I haven't been to the pool bathrooms for a while,
How long?
couple years,
How long?
couple years.
Be honest.
I do agree, they do look like
I've walked it, they've never looked good.
highway rest side.
Yeah, they've
Sure.
never looked, they've never looked great.
I mean, it's
They were
okay.
not designed well.
It's okay that they're cinder blocks.
But this is not-
Because we're people with water and
Here's my question. What, in your opinions, what would be the fix for those bathrooms?
at Spring Park, new floor, new toilets, and
Okay.
new sink.
New floor, new toilets, new sink. What is wrong with the toilets?
They're disgusting. They're
No.
either clogged,
But-
they're dripping, they're rusty. So if you put modern,
Okay, I'm just asking if they can be repaired and cleaned.
No.
No,
No.
okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm not
Both
saying-
bathrooms need
So that,
full
but that is not,
interior.
we're not talking about a gigantic.
Toilets are a couple $100.
Yeah, toilets are a few $100s.
The other piece is the partitions in there. Those are expensive to replace. And those are hideous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
they're
those are-
livable.
We don't want the master plan you're dealing with. I mean,
I mean.
No,
big
I
picture.
get,
No, I'm saying like, let's just solve that now, because like what we're talking about.
Island Village.
No, we just
Current,
want
or somewhere in
nice.
the middle.
We can never have what Island Village has, but the
I
residents,
would say, we don't want to spend the Island Village dough, somewhere in the middle.
So you want me to do a design build bid for
Let's
refreshing the
do
bathroom?
do this. Once we get the new town architect, which we should get quickly, let the new town architect look at what would be the most expedient and best looking way to fix those.
the floor in Lakeside bathroom is
Because the
absolutely,
town architect will be someone who has experience in this town with the
That's
look.
only the ladies' room. The men's room has the old top.
because that floor is really nice at
So
Lakeside.
there was a bathroom done somewhere else, and one of the floors was done, and that was left over.
Yeah.
So just the ladies' room has that new top.
So in Spring Park, that floor's disgusting. I don't know.
They need to be stripped in either new epoxy or some new floor type.
What in so the action plan hits you guys pretty hard with the bathrooms too,
Yeah.
right? That's,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, that's another thing too. It's gonna continue to,
I think you just won. We're gonna have them take a look at doing this over the next several months.
No,
Are we-
several.
Are we voting on
Well,
the,
no, we gotta get the architect because we want, but it's becoming a priority.
yeah, that should be the first thing they do. That and
Okay.
figure out how to demolish a house.
I love that.
getting there.
How to demolish a house. That's a good idea. Yeah.
5 feet, 5 feet from another.
So is that on the agenda for March, the town architect approving? the
It'll
town
be for April,
I mean, it is the middle of March. so we're doing great.
unless I can shove it onto your workshop as a,
You can shove it onto the workshop.
Well, I guess the other thing
Yeah.
I'll add is, how are we gonna be doing a full bathroom in the summer? So we pretty much, I think, have a month or two to do something, or we put it to
One
later
at
in
a
the year.
time.
Yeah, but it's already exists. It's already there, just remodeling it.
Close one.
I mean, it's gotta be down for, I think,
I
5
mean,
days.
they
minimum,
closed
right?
Spring
Yeah, so
Park
it's down
Pool
for-
when they did the refurbishment of the deck and filled the hole. It took
And that was
3
a good
days.
business, yeah.
If you're telling the residents, sorry, we're closing the bathrooms at Lakeside for 3 days or 4 days because we're,
Another pool. Well,
no,
plus if it's,
because we're listening to what you're saying and we're fixing up our amenity, I think the residents will be good with
I
that.
agree.
Okay.
The only question that I have, and I like the idea of using the town architect, and this is maybe just my experience of architects has been different, but an architect is not necessarily an interior designer or
Yeah.
a general contractor.
Well, if we do
So
a design build, if we do a design build proposal with a general contractor, they can do that.
Yeah, see, the
True.
architect can mainly look
Yeah.
at what would be the best way to lay the thing out, not the color scheme necessarily.
The toilets are already there, they just have to be swapped. out.
But I don't
But there may be some better ways to partition now. We don't, architects look at those things every day.
yeah, but that could be a build bid request, and just give me a design build bid for refreshing
Yeah.
this and this.
We're talking about a toilet and a bathroom too, so it's like, how complex are we gonna make this?
We're making it too
Well,
complex.
I'm saying,
No, we don't make it.
we don't need
complex.
Wi-Fi enabled toilets, we don't, all that, just get it up to the
Toilets
standards. Like,
and a
it
new
doesn't need to be,
amenity.
we don't need a town architect, we don't need just,
I can issue a design build bid.
That
I will
works.
say on the spring
Because
part,
we're not going to
bathrooms,
change
there's a
plumbing
lot
or
of dead
anything.
spacing, so it can be redesigned a better way.
Okay,
Well, Eric was talking about
Well,
plumbing.
yeah, no, he said plumbing's, we're not gonna move plumbing around.
No, but
Yeah, I
mean,
think,
if
well,
you're-
no, well, but I think to what Andrew just said, we might want to. And I think that that's the only, that, I guess that's where I'm not comfortable. I think to me, it's more of, if an architect wants to adjust flow and how things are doing things, yeah, that's great. But that means we're breaking concrete and we're moving plumbing. There's,
Yeah, it will cost a fortune, you're right.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, we don't want to cost a fortune, but I do agree that when I saw them, they were disgusting. And they're worse. I'm sure they're worse now. They're exposed to water. They're exposed to Florida.
So what's your suggestion, Laura?
So I would do a design build bid, but put some parameters in there saying we don't want to replumb everything and change it all around so we're breaking concrete unless we find that the plumbing is terrible as is and needs to be redone, because otherwise we're just creating a new problem. Same thing with the electrical and just and move on with it.
Sounds good. Wow. Joint community security meeting with CROA and CCDD. Whose is that? Nobody owns that one?
Celia and Charles kind of jointly.
Can I kick it off?
No, you pick it up. Well,
She's a kick off. No.
Well, I
You
guess,
guys comment?
yeah, I'll kick it off. So conversation we had was my
that's right.
understanding was I thought it was going to be a public meeting with CROA and CC regarding what there is, but right now there's nothing to show. So either as a liaison or some other meeting that you guys want to do private to at least engage in communications and get that moving, that's fine. I have no issue with that. But, you know, for a public standpoint of doing workshop, I would want technology to finish their beta testing on their security cameras and how that would work in. And speaking of Lauren, Curtis Security is maybe someone that we partner with in the future, or maybe we have a group come in and do presentations similar to what the CCDD did with their group. So this was something where, yes, it's top of mind, it's important, but the workshop part of it, I think, is 2 or 3 months off, not do it in March.
Okay.
I think we left it where we wanted to have a behind the door. I'm not sure, Charles. Behind the, I don't know if Jared was there that night at that meeting.
That was, no, I was not.
No, you were away. So I think we left.
This was the old board.
Yes.
Yes, we met in an executive session with Tom and the technology to discuss.
Motion to waive executive privilege.
Oh.
Yeah.
Motion to waive exec second.
On favor?
Yes.
All in favor?
Well, I wasn't gonna
Aye.
go into the,
Go ahead. We can waive executive.
Okay.
Because to me, that doesn't sound like a legit executive session.
Yeah,
It was
what?
because of the camera specifications
Yeah.
and
Where they
And
were
what-
located.
What we can do and what we're.
Time.
we're trying to,
Okay.
this happened, this.
I don't think it's a bad thing to let people know where the heck cameras are.
No,
Still
we don't-
didn't qualify for executive.
I don't think so, but
But
okay.
anyway,
Go
we
ahead.
had the meeting. We had the public meeting after all the vandalism for New Year's Eve. We decided Greg Felix spoke a lot about security and everything, and he says, and then we was talking to Tom Hull, and Greg said, well, maybe you should do this behind the door, because you don't want to let the thief know what is out there if they're going to do something. So we met with the technology committee, and there was what we can do with technology, what they can do, what we can do is CROA, but let's bring in CDD and Lexing, and the 3 of us jointly have a meeting to see what we can do, because I know CDD is going out looking for cameras in the community, and even Tom Hull brought up, we want to put cameras across the street from the Artisan Park Clubhouse, and we're going to put the expense of that, but there's a light pole right there that CDD's, we can join with them jointly. So we wanted to have this meeting to discuss if we can work the 3 of us together, get cameras out there, get whatever we have to do to protect the community a little better. Gary's the one that told us, he gave us 7 action items to do the night we had the public meeting. We've already done the meeting with the sheriff. We already had the executive session. We had the meeting with the community. We still have to have this joint, but not public until we decide okay, are we gonna link up with CDD and maybe?
That's what I'm asking. How can you have a meeting, a joint meeting with CCDD and
CDD has to have a shade.
have to have a what?
It's called a shade
Uh-huh.
because I guess they can't have a public meeting to discuss it. Well, you were on CDD.
Right. No, I know, but so we're talking about a private meeting or just?
Well, so
Yeah.
I think I think we need a public meeting
Well,
because,
the public would be after we decide what we're gonna do.
Ooh,
but I think we should all, so here's,
ooh,
here's my,
like,
I think a public meeting, because I think the optics, we need CROA, CDD, and CROA to all come out with, and we talked about this in the executive session, we need to define policy, right? That there's going to be one celebration. We're going to take a zero tolerance approach. All the organizations are going to define rules for how we're going to prosecute, all those things. And then breaking it down further, we don't go down our paths where CROA develops a camera solution and then reporting it to one solution. CD does their own thing and then CNOA does their own thing. We're all in the same ecosystem. And potentially even with CJC, right, there's CNOA and CROA, so we can funnel it through there
can't
too.
that be accomplished though? By having the liaison with CDD present to CDD, having that brought back to CROA in a CROA meeting, and the CJC liaising with, and just have the three entities discuss and meet separately and come together on some sort of a plan. The idea of having one CDD, if it's three directors, they've got too many.
We've had joint meetings with the CDD.
We can have, but private,
So we're talking about public at this point.
public.
No, public.
Okay.
This needs to
Okay,
be
I
public.
I just keep hearing the word private.
Private.
No,
And that's where I was on your line where, yeah, I think the liaison does the first groundwork.
Yeah.
And then as the technology group finishes their beta testing, then you have your joint meeting with CCD.
If even necessary, because it may be that the liaison saying, well, we're gonna do this, and we would like you to do that, or vice versa. Then each of our individual boards can come together and say, here's the plan. We talked individually with the CROA rep. We talked individually with the CJC rep. Here's how we would all like to proceed. Each one writes their own resolution and then the other boards approve it.
But I think CDD is already going
Well,
out looking.
Well,
Right, of course.
that's the problem. Everyone is already in flight in multiple
Right.
directions.
Right.
So there has to be some level of alignment
That's what
through.
we're trying
Well,
to
What
get.
worries me is we have like separate meetings. There has to be, I'm gonna say holistic a lot, but there has to be some holistic strategy. where
Well,
we're all
or
talking
just
to-
there though, because CDD already has the license plate cams.
Correct.
CDD has the ability to put cameras, should they want to, on their light poles and all kinds of places, because they're actually a government. They can get with Osceola County and do the public spaces. We are just the HOA. We can do our spaces. But we can't do anything other than our spaces without their approval. Why would we want to? Let them do their space, we do our space. All of us agree, and that would be an easy agreement, I would think, to share with the sheriff.
But we saw with the vandalism where they went from artisan to the roads, and we didn't have a solution. We had gaps in our security solution, basically.
Well,
So,
but the other issue
And
was you got to prove who's driving the damn car. So
but,
you can get pictures, all the pictures you want, but how do you prove it?
well, so it's even going up a higher level. We were talking about getting the sheriff out here to do a full view of celebration. Because here's the other problem. We're not camera experts. I'm not. I don't know if you are. None of us are in a position to say, go put a camera here, go do this, go do this. We need an expert to come in and map not just CROA properties, CNOA properties, and CDD celebration proper. And then from there,
I think we even mentioned Jerry, having Jerry come and
He's come out
Yeah.
and done a brief walk of CROA properties.
That's what I'm saying is but why does it have to be done in one group? The logistics of just,
to see if we
So I
can
guess-
share the cost.
There's cost
Like we share the
potential
cost.
savings of doing the whole community versus 3 separate orders going different places. And then the other thing is we need to partner with CCTV because even though we're looking at CROA property, we want to put our camera on a CCTV light pole.
well,
So that's where the coordination has to be.
but
They're
you
sending
see,
me a
that's why I'm trying, but it seems like we're making a bigger issue. It would be so simple to just go to CDD and say, hey, guys, we want to put a camera here, here, and here. Can we use your light bulb? the logistics of pulling off a joint CDD, the NOAA CROA meeting and actually having it work, the odds are against it.
It's always the first time for everything done.
I've done some joint meetings and the problem is everybody wants to be in charge.
I guess the issue would be what happens when we have three different security companies and systems in place for the three different entities.
I mean, we share the cost of a sheriff
So
on
I think it
weekends.
extends beyond the camera discussion. It also extends to
Correct.
like Andrew's security company that Lexon has their security company that
Yeah.
they don't like. We have our security company that we don't like. We also have the cost sharing agreement with CDD. So there is potentially an opportunity to cost share there around not a security company, but maybe a community policing company that provides a broader scope throughout celebration.
That's a possibility, but here's the problem. When I was on CDD, we were looking at a very robust camera solution. That literally, I mean, it was better. It was the license plate readers, but it was the license plate readers on steroids. It could pull when a license plate went by and the car was reported stolen or the license plate stolen or there were warrants, the sheriff's office would be notified instantly that that car passed by that camera. We were going to pay for it. CDD was going to pay for it. The sheriff said, we won't monitor it. We don't want it. We won't use it.
That's why we need this meeting
But-
together.
But the sheriff's office will continue to do the least it can possibly do for celebration.
There's interest in Canoa, right? Canoa wants to come to the table.
They're very interested in the engaging in the camera discussion and the community policing discussion.
But what I'm saying is instead of having that in a massive meeting, have that discussion. Have the discussion
With who?
with the rep from CROA has it with the CDD. The rep for CJC has it with Canoa. We talk about what they will and will not do, and then we come back to our board and report on it, as opposed to bringing 20 of us together in a room where the egos are going to get in the way, nothing is going to get accomplished.
Eventually we're going to need that big meeting, but we have to start these one-on-one conversations to just get all on the same
There's
page.
enough, because, hello, Eric.
Oh, Tom Hall.
Oh, Tom, I can't see anybody. Oh, I see a hand, see?
Yes,
Tom?
you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, so philosophically, this is not my bag. I'm not a political guy, so I agree with the concept of having a smaller group if you want to really get things done. But I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on the need to, if it's unclear, the need to cooperate with these entities. They have certain things that we need, like locations, and we have things that they need. We have facilities and places that they can backhaul their data. And a prime example of that is downtown. We have a building at Lakeside. We have plenty of bandwidth. We have the ability to have point to multi-point connection between their cameras and Lakeside so that they will not need to have a building or put up a facility or have Smart City come in order to provide the backhaul. So I think we would mutually benefit with a relationship with CDD and they would benefit from working with us. So
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. In fact, I agree. I think we need to talk to them so that we're not duplicating efforts. All I'm saying is that the logistics of a group meeting, we can try it, but I've seen them fail, not once, multiple times.
Well, but
Yeah,
so like
100%.
you were saying, maybe we try the liaison path, right? That's what you're advocating.
Just to get like, are we at least in the same?
Yep.
ballpark?
That's what I'm thinking.
Then come together so we're all talking about the same
Yeah.
thing.
You can always have the meeting, so you're spot on. Oh, I think that's fair.
Okay,
Everyone's
let's do
in
that.
agreement.
So 100% agree with that. The only other thing I'd like to mention is that the technology has really moved on. It's pretty advanced now. And working with the sheriff's department for them to monitor selected cameras that we or CCDD choose is relatively easy now. We've met with the sheriff. I believe CCDD's met with the sheriff also, but I know I have also personally met with them to talk about how we would accomplish this and give them limited access. So that part is relatively easy. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have to have joint, a joint security system. We have multiple servers throughout Celebration. We have a master server. CDD can have their own server. They can use our network. We can use their polls. We don't have to work together on exactly who monitors it. We don't have to work together on who has access to the stored video. We can still maintain separation in those areas. So I wouldn't get too worried about that part of it. My suggestion to them would be to sort of follow our lead in terms of what servers they use, because we know that the servers that we have are more than up to the job. And we can take the discussion further in some other forum as to exactly what we could do or what we can't do with the servers.
And they don't have a technology committee to advise, so.
Right, they don't, and they've asked for a turnkey system. They don't really want to be in the business of installing or even suggesting how to install or getting involved in any way. And I gave them a reference that we used when we put in our system here to kind of a vector to say, hey, go talk to these guys. And we don't need to really work with them at that level, meaning at who stores what data and who has access to those servers. And all. We don't need that level of interoperability with them. The only thing I think we need is down at the hardware level. We need facilities. We need their polls. They need our facilities to connect their cameras, and we can maintain.
And I cannot imagine they'd be opposed on.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it.
The other thing too, just to put a pin in this, is as we go through the master plan stuff and as anatomy continues to expand, we got to get this right now. And that's the other value, because we're just growing, we're keep adding. So I think this is.
Yep. And bear in mind that, as Tom said, whatever we do now will be obsolete in 6 months. It will. We have to be flexible. All right, joint, that's the last thing. Any directors' comments? Anybody want to add anything? Celia?
We did say we weren't gonna talk about the committee resolution.
Right.
Lauren put out the call for volunteers. How are we going to do this? At workshop, at our meeting? Like, we want to get these committees in place. Is there a time frame, Lauren?
Well, at your March meetings, you'll be extending the resolution to May. I think at your April meeting or your April workshop, you need to discuss the resolutions. And then at your April meeting, approve the resolutions and approve your candidates. So then the May committee meetings are the new committees.
Right.
There we go.
So that's going to be.
So in April, we'll discuss it.
April 10th. So that's going to be.
But that means the liaisons need to be in charge of their own resolutions with their committees, unless you want management to reach out to everybody.
So I think we should all work on our resolutions with our committees and then just share that with the group.
Good idea. At the April 10th meeting?
Well, by email, or I don't want to read 10 committee resolutions at the meeting.
Well, no, we could share them at the meeting and then vote on them at the meeting.
Share
What
the
time for-
workshop.
Share at the workshop, vote at the meeting.
So we're not getting emailed the resolutions to each other.
And how are we handling the universal resolution?
That's a good question.
Do we just red line and reconcile our edits?
Well,
Somebody wants to volunteer and take it on.
Not
who we have the universal resolution? Was that redone?
It was redone effective February of last year. It was really, most of it was housekeeping items and reorganizing where things were and acknowledging the existence of advisory groups and SME groups.
I'll take that on because it's probably fine as it is. I probably know. Why don't we all just put our things in a Teams folder and then people can go in and comment and edit as they want?
That is the best idea ever, because then it's not multiple emails. You don't get these long threads. That's a much better way to do it, because then we can collaborate.
Yeah.
I mean, Teams or Slack or some collaboration system.
I'll work with Lauren on the Teams folder for that to make
Okay.
all of the people.
That's a much better idea.
Sure. What are we doing about communications?
That's gotta be a resolution. That was something we needed to discuss tonight.
Do we have the old communications resolution?
From before 2021, when Graham Annis came
I
on.
was gonna ask, like, I mean, I know I kind of mentioned
Yeah.
a couple things to you, but like, since we're the liaisons, but since this is a new committee, I was gonna ask the board too, you know, what objectives or goals they would want to see in the communications resolution. If they had any.
Oh, my number one is make that an actually usable website for residents. Not a pretty, we're trying to sell property website. That front page, I would love the communications committee to look into how that thing could better be used to communicate in two directions with residents.
I have a bit of a radical idea with the communications committee. I think there should be a little bit more of a bottom-up approach around the objectives where we seat the committee, we build the general resolution.
And ask what the,
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the top-down,
Okay.
us dictating, but
Yeah.
but I don't want to deviate so much that the other committees are. But I don't know, like, I just feel like with a new committee,
you guys, the new committee is going to be writing it. The new liaison.
well, yeah, that, I just don't, it shouldn't reflect like what you and I necessarily, it should be what they want. It's like master plan, right? The master plan group is doing, like, they're giving their input,
Those are
they're like,
different things. This is a committee.
Yeah, committee. So it would be more like you take the technology committee and just add some words.
Can I make a suggestion, Charles?
sure,
That you didn't read the email that I sent, that I found that had all the different things about real managed president and covenants. There was something in there about a communication evaluation team. And there was communication with Janine Brandt that maybe she could chair it. And since she was on that advisory group and came up with all of this thing, that person who sent the email was going to ask if she would be the chair. And since we have no committee to go back and talk to, can we bring her on and help facilitate this communication committee?
yeah, that's, and I agree that, so the advisory report is, that really should be the set of objectives.
The
Like,
communication evaluation team.
so is that what
Remember that
we
email?
just want that to be the objectives, just.
With whatever
the thing,
tweaks you have.
Some of the
Okay.
objectives I think were met, with the report.
Yeah.
And then some I think probably since it's 2 years old, like, should be updated. And
But she's the one that,
we could ask her
I think that would be great because it's
what
like,
objectives she
it's like
feels.
me going back to special events and saying, okay, what do you want? And Andrew going back to technology and going, what do you want in your resolution? We don't have a body there.
why don't we start with that? So we'll start with the advisory group recommendations, and then when we seat the committee, we'll go through them, make sure we're all aligned.
Because we can always write a new resolution
We can
and
always
bring it
do
to the board. So
Exactly.
you can just have a tentative resolution. And then once the committee meets, as your bottom up approach is say, what do you guys think
That's the,
our purpose should be?
Which I think, I mean, you could be more generic with the communication one too, as far as timely and clear communication, things of that nature, but then maybe one piece of it is that advisory group, take that, review it, and then update it 2 years later, you know, and put that there as far as the starting point of this is where we look, but then as that group gets to know each other and where the focus should be, then the resolution could be revised at that point.
keep writing this thing, Katie. You want to take a stab at it?
He's probably a better writer.
Well, if you write
No,
my
I'm not.
emails,
Your
I don't
writing is
know.
lovely, Charles. Your writing, my verse is very good.
Do
Okay,
you want me to try to like write it and then send it over to you to kind of edit?
yeah, take a first stab and then we can go back.
And put it in the Teams channel so that we can all.
There you go. All right, any other director comments?
Tonight went really well. Thank
Motion
you.
to adjourn. Second, we're adjourned, ladies and
Wait,
gentlemen.
who made the motion?
Jared, Andrew,
You're not secretary anymore.
just taking the notes.
I'm taking the notes, and if the
Eric.
minutes come through and Eric doesn't see a mistake, Go back.
Sorry,
and say-
point of order, meeting is adjourned on myself.
Yeah, more to order.
Thanks, everyone.